Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? Sorry I missed y'all yesterday. I kind of laid low yesterday and chillaxed and relaxed all day. But I got to get on here and at least get one little blab fest in before we get this week started. We've been feeling a little under the weather here lately. Been feeling a little under the weather. Soon as hit wintertime, dude. Soon as wintertime hit. What's up, y'all? How you doing? Happy New Year. Soon as wintertime hit, man, bam, sinuses, sore throat, you know. Leah's feeling a little bit worse than me. You can kind of hear it in my voice a little bit too, can't you? Well, been laying low. I haven't quit working out, but I've put my workouts to a kind of a minimum to conserve my energy, you know. We've been living on garlic and lemon water and ginger. Garlic, lemon water, and ginger, you know. Anyway, other than that though, y'all ready to get this year started with some happiness, with a bang? And y'all got any good plans for the year? Give you something good today? I'll try. I'll give you some good advice. That's what I'll do. Give you some good advice, you know. I'll give you some good advice. I think I'm going to probably, now don't quote me, because every time I say my plans never end up going exactly the way I say. But at least the desire here in this moment is to get started on some January bonuses. That's the desire. That's what I want to do. Who knows, though? I don't know what I'm going to do. I was going to get on here and chat in the morning, but I actually went to bed early, like 10:30, something like that. And I was like, no, I want the first person that I talk to for the new year to be Leah, because we went to bed, we didn't bring in the new year together, we crashed out, we weren't feeling good. So I was like, no, I'm not going to get on here and chat before I talk to her. She's going to be the first person I talk to this year, So anyway, though, anywho, what y'all up to? Yep, health, wealth, and abundance. Starting a YouTube channel. That's good, Tony. That's good. Do it to it. Yeah, health, wealth, and abundance, man. That's what it's all about. But with health, it's very important. I'm going to tiptoe around the subject a little bit, but I think it's very important that we start learning how to take our health into our own hands. It's very important. Okay. Got to be very careful with that nowadays. Got to be very, very careful with that. Very careful with that. That's all I'm going to say about that. Doing the best that you can to learn how to take your health into your own hands. And if you decide to put your health into somebody else's hands, you got to be real careful. Real careful. Mm-hmm. Yep, you sure does. Anyway, though. Anywho. Yeah, I just did a pre-recorded video last night that I was going to edit and put up, but I don't know. I don't really like it. I might redo it. And I've said something along the lines of this before anyway, that if you want 22 to be that year, you have to be uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Now, see, this is the hard part that I'm having a hard time figuring out how to word for the video that I want to put up. But I'll toss some ideas around on here. You're not going to stay uncomfortable. That's the thing. Whatever change you want to make, whatever change you want to see in your life, the first thing you have to be willing to say is that, okay, 2022 is just going to suck. You have to be willing to say that to yourself. Now, it's not, that doesn't mean that the whole year is going to suck, but you have to be willing to allow all year to fucking suck and be miserable. You have to be willing to do that. That's not what happens though. Whenever you're really driven, when you're driven enough to make a change, yes, you're going to spend some time very uncomfortable. Yes, you're going to spend some time outside your comfort zone. But when you're driven enough, which means like there is no backup plan. There ain't no backup plan. This is what I'm doing. I'm either doing this or I'm going to die trying. You know, when you're that driven to where you're just real stubborn, hard headed, this is the change that I'm making. It doesn't stay uncomfortable for long. Not for long. A couple months, maybe. With fitness, though, for those of you who are wanting to get into fitness, I think that's different for everybody. It took me a year. It took me a whole year just of being uncomfortable to finally get comfortable with fitness. And I was talking to Coach Drew a little bit about it. He said that I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting him, but he said something to the effect of, I was one of his more tricky clients that he's ever had before, you know? And I said, why do you think that is? And he said something to the effect of, most of my clients that come through have done it before, you know? They're like, well, I was fit at one point in time, and then I just kind of quit going to the gym and got fat. And then I started working out again and lost some weight, and then I quit, and now I'm here. But me, on the other hand, I have never stepped foot onto a fitness path ever in my life. Never, ever, never. It doesn't mean that I've been completely out of shape my whole life, because I've had very, very physically demanding jobs. So I'm very used to physical activity, but as far as doing it intentionally for my own health and wellness, I've never done that before, ever. And at the time that I stepped into that little public gym where me and him first started working together, I had been sitting on my ass, drinking beer and eating junk food for 2 years, for 2 straight years. I had no muscle. I was like 32% body fat. I was pushing 300 pounds. I was not quite 300. I was about 260, and I had just no muscle tone. All my muscles had atrophied and dwindled away. And I was mostly fat, mostly body fat. So that was boy, you want to talk about uncomfortable? You want to talk about excruciating? Just that alone, me having to go through a whole year of activating all my muscles and turning them on, muscles that were dead, weren't even being used. Just getting a muscle activated and turned on is the most excruciating thing that I've ever been through in my life. That's why at this point, I'm like, yo, I ain't never quitting. There ain't no way. I'm not putting myself through that again. I'm not putting myself through that again. You know what I mean? But anyway, the point that I'm getting at, though, is that like the discomfort that comes along with making any kind of change isn't permanent. It's not permanent. Not really. Not really. And even some of the discomfort that does stick around, you get used to it. You get used to it. Does that make sense? You get used to it. And this is another thing that I was wanting to explain in a video, something to the effect of this. And I think me and Coach Drew talked about this live when I brought him on here one time. Your average person, if your average person found themselves stranded on a desert island, do you know most people would rather stay on the desert island knowing that they're going to die than venture out into the unknown and possibly find help, possibly die, possibly get help? You don't know, but it's the unknown. Everybody's scared of the unknown. Everybody's afraid of what they don't know or what they don't understand or what they can't predict, what they feel like they have no control of. I would rather stay here on the desert island because at least I'm in control and I know I'm going to die, and it's comfortable because I know what's happening. You know what I mean? Makes sense? You got to be willing to go out into the unknown and take that leap of faith, make that investment, or start that business, or start that YouTube channel, like whoever it was that said that earlier. Start doing it, Start doing it. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be weird. It's going to be funky. But you have to be willing to say, okay, 2022 is just going to be uncomfortable. You'll start to kind of notice, though. You'll start to notice that it's changing who you are and the way you think about things, Stick with it. Whatever change that it is that you're wanting to make for the year, stick with it. You'll notice 6 months down the line, come July, you stop and you look back and you'll be like, I'm not even the same person that I was 6 months ago. I don't even look at things the same way. I don't even feel the same way about, you know what I mean? It's Pretty mind blowing. It's pretty bizarre, dude. Pretty mind blowing. It gets addictive too after a while. It gets addictive, especially once you start seeing the results. Once you start seeing the results, that's what I call the first hump. The first hump. Whenever you want to step off onto any kind of manifestation path or any path at all, it doesn't matter if you're wanting to manifest something or whatever it is you want to do, you have the first hump. Okay. The first hump. And what I picture in my mind is you get up to your first mountain. Okay. And you and everybody else has been at the bottom of this mountain your whole life, and you hear rumors and you hear tales of the life that's on the other side of that mountain. But you got a lot of people telling you there ain't nothing on the other side of that mountain. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time. There's nothing over there. But you hear some other people say, if you can stick with it and climb all the way to the top of this mountain, you will not fucking regret it. So you're tossing it around like, man, I don't know what to do. Should I listen to these people? Should I listen? I mean, these people have never climbed the mountain. They've been here at the bottom of the mountain their whole life too. I'm getting curious because I don't like it here at the bottom of the mountain. I don't like it. I don't like it. So the first hump is climbing that first mountain for the first time, not having a clue if you're wasting your time, not having a clue if there really is anything on the other side of that mountain. You know what I mean? You're just doing the work, putting in the work. I don't know if I'm wasting my time. I don't know, but you know what? I'm going to keep climbing. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm not staying down there at the bottom of that mountain. And then when you get over your first hump, that's when you start seeing the results for the first time. When you first start seeing the results, whenever your first little manifestation actually happens in your life, when you're like, dude, it works. That first hump, when the money first starts flowing in or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be money. Y'all know this. But whatever it is, whenever you very first start seeing results for the first time in your life, that is when it becomes addictive. That's when it becomes addictive. Like, man, if I can do this, what else can I do? Pretty daggone neat. Pretty daggone neat. Yes, I have trained in martial arts, actually. I did that all throughout my childhood. I was in Taekwondo from age six. I started when I was 6 and I quit when I was like 14. So that was a big, huge part of my childhood, martial arts. And I've been toying with the idea of getting back into it. Been toying with the idea. By the time I got my first Dan black belt, my grandma had cancer. She first found out that she got cancer, and we just, it made everything real complicated in the family and confusing, and we just quit. We quit, and pretty much everybody's energy was focused around, trying to get her treatment and trying to get her better. And that ended up being like a 3-year battle. But anyway, yeah, I have trained in martial arts. Yep, I sure have. And like I said, I've been toying with the idea of getting back into it. But here's my thing. And this goes with all things. Okay, I'm not competitive, like, at all. I don't like competition. I just don't like it. I don't like either aspect of it. Okay. Because obviously, if you lose, that sucks. But I'm the type of person that if I win, I feel bad for beating you. I feel guilty. I feel like I've done something wrong. It's this weird, this weird feeling that I've had deep down inside where I hate competition. It sucks to lose. And then I feel guilty if I beat somebody, at the same time. So I've just always hated competition. So that's why when it comes to any type of competitive sport, whether it's martial arts or just any sport in general, I lose my passion when it comes to competing. When it came to martial arts, I was real good. Oh, I was good. They used to put me, I had my picture on the front page of the newspaper one time. They would use me in all the demonstrations. They would always have me because I was real good. I was real athletic. But then they would always want me to go compete in the Olympics, and I didn't want to do that. They begged me and begged me and begged me to go compete in the Junior Olympics. And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to go fight somebody, because that's what it is. You're going and fighting other people. I'm like, I don't want to fight nobody. I think the art of it is really cool. Breaking boards and seeing how I could always jump higher and farther than anybody. So they would line people up like a line of 10 or 15 people. And I'd run across the room and jump over everybody and break a board, I was real good at that. I was real good at the art. But when it came to competing, I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. That was when my passion for it just went, and I just didn't like it. So I went ahead all the way through, got my black belt. And by that time, my grandma was sick. So I quit and just never went back. Never really went back. I never had the passion for it. Music and martial arts were the two things that I was into the most as a kid. Music and martial arts. So I studied Taekwondo and practiced guitar. And then whenever I quit martial arts, I focused all of my energy on music, and, bettering my skills as a musician. And I continued that all throughout my teenage years. And then, like I told y'all before, in my early 20s, I just kind of quit that, and the fire burned out for that. And I haven't picked that one back up either. So anyway, anywho. Yeah, we gotta make this new year better than the others. We gotta make this new year the better than the others. That's what we gotta do. We gotta take it upon ourselves to start walking a path. And we gotta be willing, like I was saying earlier, gotta be willing to be uncomfortable. Gotta be willing to be uncomfortable. As long as you're willing, if you're driven enough, now I know there's some of you watching. I know there's some of you watching right now that you're so fucking sick and tired of being in the same place in life that you're driven. You're driven. I'm making this change, and I don't even care what the outcome is. I'm just making a change. Period. I'm done with it. And when you're that driven, when you're that damn driven to where you're making a change, whether you're successful or not, I don't care if I succeed. I'm just making some kind of change because I'm sick of being where I am. Any kind of change, anything. Don't care what the outcome is. You won't be uncomfortable for long. Not for long. Not for long. Not for long. No, I don't really care what kind of sickness I have. We pretty much look after ourselves. We know a lot of, I don't really know how much I want to talk about this here on YouTube, but we're very blessed to have been guided in that direction by people on my journey. That's all I'm really going to say, man. I don't know how safe it is to talk about here on YouTube, but no, we pretty much take care of ourselves. I'm not worried about it. But anyway, yeah, just something different. Some kind of change. I remember that's where I was at. But it took me, you all know, having to having to go homeless, dude. It took me having to go homeless before I finally said, you know what, I'm done. And it's like a switch flips. It's kind of like a switch flips in your mind, because I remember that day, the day that I said, okay, well, actually, I made the decision that night. I had my little tent, and I was all the way outside the Louisville city limits trying to hitchhike, and it wasn't successful. So we had our little tents. We would break it down during the day, and then we would pitch it at night. And for those of you who are familiar with the Louisville area, I was at the Brooks Road exit out there in Bullitt County. We were trying to hitchhike, and it wasn't working. Finally, my buddy got arrested or whatever. He got drunk and started acting stupid. The cops came and got him, and I said, okay, I'm done with this. It was like a switch flipped. So I pitched my tent, and I said, this is the last night I'm spending on these streets, period. And then I got up that morning, rolled up my tent, chucked it in some bushes, and just left it and started walking like 20 miles, started walking. I walked all the way downtown. It was like a 20-mile walk. And so I still ended up staying a couple more nights on the streets, though, because the homeless shelter that I got to wouldn't take any new people on the weekends for some reason. It was a homeless shelter / recovery program, but in order to actually have a solid place to stay, you had to join the program. Okay. Now, there were a pretty good number of just regular homeless people, but it was first come, first serve, like first come, first serve. Whenever you show up, If there's a spot, we'll take you, but if it's full, you're on the streets, you know? So I was like, all right, well, fuck it. I'll just start the program. And it was kind of like boot camp. It was like recovery boot camp for addicts and alcoholics and whatnot, you know? So I had to spend the first week. I had to, like I said, I had to spend a couple more nights on the streets. And then I turned myself into the detox in this little bitty room. And my bed number was 111. I thought that was cool. I didn't know anything about any of this at that point in time, though. But 111 was my bed number in detox, and then you stay there for like a week, whatever, and then they take you across the street to the shelter where you're in this program. You know, you're part of this. You're not allowed to work. You live there. You have to sign up for food stamps, and that's what pays for your food and whatnot. But you eat like 3 meals a day, and you got to go to at certain times. You have to go attend a certain number of AA and NA meetings, and you got to get your paper signed to prove that you went. And you know, you do all that, and you get a place to rest your head in the shelter, in the homeless shelter. It was this big room, a big room with a bunch of bunk beds, you know, bunch of bunk beds. And I was like, fuck it, man, I'm doing it then. So I did that for a couple of months. And I was like, yeah, but I'm really, really ready to like get back into life, to get back into regular everyday living, you know? So January 31st, I did that from December. So it was right at about 2 months. And then January 31st, I left and went to a little transitionary home down the street. It was called Our Father's House, a little transitionary home. And they let you sign a pledge. They let you go in. They say, okay, you got to sign this pledge. You have 14 days to find a job and start paying towards rent. You had to pay rent to live there, you know? And it was like this big cluster of houses in the west end of Louisville, Kentucky. And big, huge houses with a bunch of rooms. And you had a roommate. They would assign you a roommate, and you would get one of the rooms in this house, you know, and then everybody had to share the kitchen and share the bathroom. But it was just like a big, humongous house with probably, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 rooms, you know. And so I signed that pledge, walked down the street to the temporary service, got a job on the spot, and bam. And then my first day at that job, I met a friend. There's this woman who just walked up to me randomly on lunch break and said, hey, you need a friend? I said, sure, I guess. And that was on my birthday too. It was on my birthday in February. And I said, sure, why not? And we ended up being roommates. So I left the transitionary home, and that's my little baby steps. Little baby steps. This is the point that I'm making. Little bitty baby steps, you know, but you got to be driven. You got to be driven. I play around on Facebook sometimes, and I look back at some of the people who were homeless with me on the streets, you know, and they're still homeless. They're still living on the streets. There's a couple of people who they have a public Facebook profile, and I'll go look, and they're constantly posting, anybody got warm blankets? You know, we're homeless. And I'm like, good Lord. You know? And then somebody in my position who I was right there with you. We were side by side. We slept, you know, in the same area in the woods. You know, we were all right there. And I decided, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. I'm not living like this no more. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. I just said, I'm done with this. And I just picked a path and started walking, and the universe did the rest, you know? And it's just kind of crazy because you look back, and all those people who are still homeless, still living on the streets, they had equal access to all the resources that I had access to. You know, there was nothing special about me. I wasn't privileged. Nobody came and like picked me up and helped me. You know, all the resources were right there. You know, huge right there. And that homelessness is something that's very common there in that part, you know, of the southern Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky area. A lot of homeless, and they have lots of homeless outreach programs. You know, they have people that will help you. Like you sign up with like a caseworker, you know, and a caseworker will take you on, and they will help you get an ID, you know, get any kind of government benefits, you know, get food stamps. And like, I mean, all the resources are right there, but you have to make the decision. I want to make a change, because like I was telling y'all before, 3 months, 3 months into me living under a bridge, and I realized I'm becoming comfortable. I'm becoming comfortable. I can somewhat understand how people end up stuck here. You live like this. I don't care what kind of environment you live in. You stay there long enough, that'll be your comfort zone. That'll be your comfort zone. So, and like I said, there's not everybody. I've looked back, and there are some people who have climbed up out of it, and they got a job and an apartment now, and they're back to you know living more healthy than that. But there's still a handful of them that are still on them streets. You know what I mean? So you just have to be driven. You have to be driven. You have to say, I'm not going to live like this, period. End of discussion. It's not happening. I'm done with it. And yeah, anyway, I'm kind of trailing off. I'm kind of trailing off, but yeah, yep. There's always, yeah, yeah, yeah. But the thing is, they have to want help. That's the thing. That's the thing. They have to want it. They have to want it, and it would blow your mind. It would blow your mind how many people don't want it. Hmm. It would absolutely blow your mind how many people out there don't want the help. They really don't. They really don't. Trust me, I lived in it. I lived in it. I was like, they would always make fun of me though, living on the streets, because, like I said, there was all kinds of resources available, and you could go at any given time to. They had donation clothes that you could go pick out. Well, not anytime, but it'd be like Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Meet us here at this building, and they had a whole warehouse filled with donation clothes, and I would go there and I would get the nicest clothes that I could find, the nicest, newest looking shoes, the nicest looking jeans and button-up shirts. And they had a little shower, a little portable shower that you could shower in. And they would give you shampoo, them little traveler bottles of shampoo, razors, So I would always have razors with me. And I would always kept all this trimmed up nice and clean, because I was embarrassed, dude. I didn't want to be homeless. I wasn't wanting to live like that, man. It was so humiliating and embarrassing. So I would always make sure that I looked like this. I looked like this. Have on a nice hoodie, a hat, some kind of nice looking hat. And I was always trimmed up and shaved clean. And like, they would always make fun of me. They'd say, man, you ain't gonna make no money like that. You gotta make these people feel sorry for you. These people were trying to coach me on how to survive on the streets. You got to make these people feel sorry for you. Grow your beard out, rip your clothes up. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not trying to live like this. It will blow your mind how many people want to live that way. It would absolutely blow your mind. Mm-hmm. Yep, it would. I know that's a real big. It's a very common misconception that people in that position are helpless, you know? And I'm not saying that none of them are. I'm not saying that none of them are, but trust me. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. Yeah, it is a really shitty situation to be in, but if you really want to get up out of that situation, you can do it. And I'm proof. I'm proof. I'm proof. I'm living proof that you can do it. And like I've said a million times, there's nothing special about me. Nothing special about me. I wasn't privileged. Nobody helped me. All the resources are right there. All the resources are right there. At least there. At least there. I don't know about any other places in the US, like here in Vegas too. I don't know how it would be here, but I know where I was. All the resources are right there. You have to want to make a change. You have to want it. Anywho, though. Anywho. Mhm. You did what? Hang on. Oh, you stayed in Mount Washington? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's not man. I don't miss that place. I don't miss Louisville. Matter of fact, it was 2 years ago yesterday was the last time I was in Louisville when we picked up the kids. We flew out there and picked them up January 1st, 2020. I don't miss it. Don't miss it. That's one of those, and I don't know, just that whole area over there on the map, all the major cities in that area, Louisville, Cleveland, Nashville, and all those. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't miss it. I don't miss it. I like it over here. I like it over here on the west side. On the west side. So anyway, so what y'all up to? Well, I'm not actually from Kentucky. I was born and raised right across the bridge in Indiana. But the reason I say Louisville, Kentucky, basically, if you've been there, it's just one area. Matter of fact, they call it Kentuckiana, is what they call it, because it's right where Louisville is, right on the border of northern Kentucky, and right across the river. The Ohio River is what separates Indiana from Kentucky, and Louisville's right there on the northern border on the Ohio River, and all you do is cross the bridge to go into Indiana. So I was actually technically born and raised in New Albany, Indiana. And essentially, if to put it into perspective for those of you who are here in Vegas, right now I live in Henderson, but I can look out my window and see the strip. I can see the buildings on the strip, and that's about the distance from Louisville that I grew up. Like, just hop on the highway and drive for like 10 or 15 minutes and you're in Louisville. So most people can't really, like, when they say, where are you from? I will say Louisville, Kentucky. Because it's all the same area anyway. And as soon as I got into my 20s, I did live in Louisville, Kentucky most of my adult life. Most of my 20s, I lived in Louisville. So yeah, that's why I say that. But technically on paper, I'm from Indiana. So anyway, yeah, I don't miss it. I don't miss it. But anywho, yep, I used to walk to work. I lost my license. I didn't have a license for 5 years. For 5 years until me and Leah got together. And that's when I got my license back. Honestly, that's when I got my license back. If I was driving before me and Leah met, it was illegal. I got my license suspended. I had racked up so many tickets and so many fines and had bench warrants and all this stuff in all these different states. And then when me and Leah got together, I went through the actual process of paying off all my fines, getting all my little bench warrants lifted and all that shit, and all these different states from, oh, good Lord, Kentucky, Indiana, and Tennessee. And I think there might have been a couple others. Man, it ended up costing almost $10,000 to get my license back. It was a bitch, man. But yep, I did the walking. See, when you walk everywhere, walking distance, how you define walking distance is different when you don't have a car. To me, anything under 5 miles was walking distance. So I'd be like, is it walking distance? They'd be like, no, man, it's like a mile down the road. I'm like, a mile? Man, that ain't shit. I don't walk a damn mile. I walked everywhere, walked everywhere. I remember them good old days. So anyway, anywho. Oh, y'all feeling under the weather too? Yeah, me too. Feeling under the weather, not feeling too good. It's like a little cold. Leah, her throat's hurting her. Her throat's hurting. My throat's not really hurting all that bad. It mainly feels like a sinus and throat, So I've been living on lemon water and garlic. Lemon water and garlic and CDS water. Chlorine dioxide solution. That's a big one that helps a lot too. So yeah, we've been taking zinc. Absolutely. Yeah, it didn't wait this year, man. It didn't wait. Usually if I get sick, which I rarely ever get sick, but usually if I do, it's usually way later on in the winter, way later on, like February, Man, it didn't wait this year. Soon as it turned wintertime, it hit us. Soon as it turned wintertime, But yeah, it's going around. It's going around. It is. It's going around. That's not an accident. That's not an accident. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say here on YouTube. It is going around, and it's no accident. It is no accident. But this is where taking your own health into your own hands is very important. Very important. Very, very important. hmm And like I was saying earlier, if you choose to put your health in somebody else's hands, you got to be real careful and real knowledgeable. Real careful and real knowledgeable. hmm Yep. Like Leah's got a sore throat and it's been hurting for like 3 or 4 days. Hurts to swallow. It hurts when she talks. So she's been talking about going to urgent care. And I'm like, be careful. Be careful. hmm Be real careful. So I don't know. I feel pretty good about it because you know what? You know what I'm feeling? My immune system is like it's immune system fitness. My immune system is getting a workout, doing them push-ups. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. It's actually a good thing, because it's a cleanse. Whenever you feel the sickness, that's actually a cleanse. That's your body cleansing the shit out. you know, to a certain extent, if you never, ever, ever, never get any kind of sickness, ever, never, ever, depending on your lifestyle, but if you're the type of person, that doesn't really watch your diet, you're not really conscientious, you drink sodas and eat your fast food and all that stuff. If you have that type of lifestyle and you never get sick, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a big problem because the sickness is the process of your body cleansing itself, cleansing all the bullshit and all the toxins and all that shit. It's a good thing. Now, if you are the type of person that is really, really, really strict on your diet, really strict, you don't take in any extra bullshit and toxins, and you don't drink no sodas, and you eat all organic and whatnot, then that's more common to not get sick very often, But if you don't watch your diet and you know that you're taking some toxic shit into your body, getting sick is expected. It's expected. That's normal. I mean, that's a cleansing. Your body's cleansing itself, So I'm pretty good with my diet. Pretty good. Pretty good. Much better than I used to be. Much more conscientious than I used to be. Some days I'm real strict, only all organic, and other days I'm like, fuck it, whatever. I'm not the most strict, but I'm not as bad as I used to be, So anywho, yep. Fresh fruits and veggies, super, super good for you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, yes. What's your name? Magic. Be compassionate with yourself. Yes, that's very important. Very, very important. What you say to yourself about yourself is very, very important. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. Because if you're casting negative energies to yourself, you can be the kindest person in the world to other people. But if you're hard on yourself, that will manifest into an illness. Yes, it will. Oh, yes, it will. You bet your ass it will. Yep. Saying shit to yourself like, oh, I'm just not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm so stupid, or I'm not pretty enough, I'm so ugly. And you say that kind of shit to yourself, it doesn't matter how nice you are to other people. If you're not nice to yourself, that will manifest into an illness. Yes, it will. Oh, yes, it will. Yep. So that's another big part of this little sickness that we've just, because in order, and also too, if it's, how am I going to word this? Let's just put it to you like this. How did I manifest this? That's a big thought. How did I manifest this? What type of energies manifested this illness? You always want to be thinking about those kind of things. Always want to be thinking about those kind of things, Yep. Out to the universe. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's no good to see. I used to beat up on myself all the time too. And I didn't even realize. I mean, like I had so much self-hatred that I didn't even really realize how hard I was on myself, I didn't even really realize it. It was just subconscious. I would just subconsciously talk shit to myself all the time, Didn't even really realize it. Didn't realize it until I started studying more on neuro-linguistic programming and really paying close attention to what my subconscious mind is saying and thinking and doing. And I started realizing, man, I'm manifesting some bullshit. Constantly telling myself I'm just not good enough. I'm so fucking stupid. I'm an idiot, saying those things to myself all day. And I had to start changing that. I had to start changing that. I had to start saying to myself, I'm successful. I'm successful. I am successful. I'm not an idiot. I'm successful. I'm successful at everything that I do, and saying those affirmations, But the thing about affirmations that confuses a lot of people is that you're not affirming it to something out here. You're not like speaking to some force out here. You're affirming that to yourself to reprogram that inner voice is what you're doing. You're reprogramming what you say to yourself. And after a while, it takes time. You don't just affirmations isn't something you just say a couple of them and then something magic happens. That's not the way that it works. You gotta affirm this over and over and over for days, weeks, and months before you start programming that little voice to say different things. I'm telling you, man, telling you, it's very important. Very important. Yeah. Oh, you're in the discomfort stage, Debs? Okay. Hey, look. It gets addictive after a while. It gets addictive after a while. Watch. You stick with it. You stay in that discomfort place. Stay there. And then eventually, as long as you stay dedicated and consistent, okay, to applying whatever changes you're applying, eventually it will begin to produce results. Eventually. Could be this month, could be 2 months from now, could be at the end of this year. It could be December 2022, but eventually it'll start producing results and you'll be able to see it. That's when it gets addictive. That's when you'll be begging to get out of your comfort zone. Once you start seeing how much it really works. Yep. Because there really is no such thing as failure. There isn't. Oh, no, there's not. No, there's not. People who fail either do one or two things. They either never even try, or they try and then they give up and quit. That's what failure is. You either don't even try, or you try and then you give up. Yep. Now, once you get on that path, you don't want to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over and getting a different result. Okay. This is where I think my Virgo energy helps me. Mutable earth, all right, well, let me try it like this. Okay. Well, that didn't work. Okay. Well, don't try it like that again then. If you tried it this way and that didn't work, try it a different way. Let me try it like this then. That didn't work. Okay. We'll try it like this then. Let's try it like this. Let's do different things. Start taking different actions. This success is a mentality. It's a mentality. Okay. Money and fame and popularity and all that stuff, that's not success. That is the manifestation of a mentality. Success is a mentality. And what that mentality is how you respond to challenges and obstacles. That's what it is. You will never completely avoid challenges and stumbling blocks, period. What success is how do you react when you're faced with a challenge? That's what success is. That's what success is. How do I react when I'm faced with a challenge? The successful person with the success mentality looks at every challenge and obstacle as an opportunity to learn and grow. That's the success mentality. It's actually real simple. It's real simple. Real simple. Every time you experience a challenge and an obstacle, it's an opportunity to learn and grow if you want it to be. If you want it to be. But if you're, woe is me, bad things keep happening to me, I'm just a victim, you don't understand what I've been through, you haven't been, blah, 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 blah. That's the failures mentality. That's the failures mentality. And I was in that mentality for years and years and years and years, years and years. It's a mentality. You have to change the way you look at things. Change the way you look at things. I was stuck in that failures mentality for years. I sure was. You know what I mean? But it's just simply a change in perspective. A change in perspective. If you start looking at every single challenge as an opportunity to learn and grow, and you stay driven, and you actually make it a point to learn from every challenge and every obstacle that you come across, success is inevitable. Success is inevitable. Like you're unstoppable. You are absolutely unstoppable, because the only thing that, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not challenges and obstacles that hold you back. It's you, because there will always be challenges and obstacles, period. End of discussion. Period. End of discussion. There will always be challenges and obstacles. You will never in this life, in this dimension, get away from that. Period. It's how you react when you're faced with one. Mm-hmm. Yep. Just remember that. Just remember that. The obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the way. The way is not to try to avoid obstacles and challenges. The obstacle is the way. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Yes, Zen 1111. Take anything and change it into a positive. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was talking to somebody about this one time who was going through something very rough. They were going through a very, very traumatic phase in their life. And they said to me, and they got a little bit angry with me and said, I don't understand how this could be a positive thing. And I said, I know. Most of the time we don't in the moment. Most of the time we don't in the moment. But you know what? You say, okay, universe, I don't know what's going on right now, but I trust that one of these days you're going to show me why this had to happen. Hmm. I remember when I very first started traveling and I couldn't see my kids, and at the time they were real young, and they couldn't understand. Every time I'd talk to them, they would be like, Daddy, can you come over tomorrow? And I was like, I'm 1,000 miles away, baby. I can't. They didn't get it. They didn't understand. So I just said, okay. I said, I'm not going to see you or talk to you for a while, but Daddy's going to do something really, really big, and I'll be back. Okay. And I promised him that. And then I stopped calling. I stopped calling. I stopped contacting him. That was the last thing I said. I said, Daddy's going to do something real big and Daddy will be back. I promise you. And I threw my hands in the air and I said, okay, universe, I have no idea why you're making it go down this way, but I trust that it's part of your plan, because there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. If it's out of my control, it's part of the plan. If it's out of my control, if it's fighting against me, if this is going to happen this way, no matter what I do, it's part of the plan. So that's a lot of it. A lot of it is foresight. You want to connect. You want to connect to the future. If you're going through something right now, picture yourself in the future. Okay. A year from now, 2 years from now, and just imagine yourself. Don't get too specific. Those of you, though, who are going through something real tough right now, like something real hard, that's real traumatic and it hurts and it's scary. Imagine this. You're in the future. Okay. And you're talking to one of your friends and you're telling them the story about this thing that you're going through. But create the feeling. What would it feel like if I was talking about this thing that I'm going through in the past tense as if it was a blessing in disguise? Do you believe that's possible? Do you believe that's possible, that one of these days you will understand why this happened? Just create that feeling. Connect to that future aspect of you out there in the quantum field, in which this thing happening was actually a blessing in disguise, and create that feeling. Man, a couple years ago, this thing happened. It was scary. It hurt, but actually, fill in the blanks, dot, 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 dot. This ended up happening, and this ended up happening, and this ended up happening, and it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Just what would that feel like? Create that feeling. Create that feeling. The more you do that, the more you're actually connecting to that possibility that's out there in the quantum field existing right now, and you're pulling it forward. You're pulling it forward. Okay. A lot of the healing journey has a lot to do. Actually, I would say this is the definition of the healing journey, but just as a practical matter, a lot of the healing journey has a lot to do with looking back on something that happened to you and understanding why it had to happen. That's what the healing journey is connecting the dots, is being able to look back on something that happened to you and say, I see why that needed to happen. This is the only reason karma exists, because people don't do that. It's the only reason why past life karma exists. Two people come together, something bad happens, they separate, and what do most people do? Nothing. Nothing. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. They just wait until they forget about it and then they think they're over it. That would be like strapping a 100-pound rucksack to your back. Strap 100 pounds to your back. That would be heavy as fuck for a little bit. And then over time, your muscles would grow stronger. You would get stronger and you would forget that it's there. Totally forget that it's there. And it would just be a part of you and you don't even think about it. It's the same thing. Healing isn't something that just happens with time. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, I just posted this the other day. Time does not equal healing. Healing equals time. Okay? Just because you wait a long time doesn't mean you've healed. But if you go through the healing process properly, it will take time. It will take time. Oh yeah. Because I know, bet you, every last one of you watching this live and every last one of you who's going to watch the playback, at least one time in your life, you have said everything happens for a reason, haven't you? Yep. Oh, I guarantee you've at least said that once. Don't lie. You've at least said that once. Well, if you said that, you got to stick with it. Everything does happen for a reason. It's just that a lot of times, most of the time, we don't see that reason until way later on looking back. And that's where I spend all my time. That's where I spend all my time, is in the future looking back. That's where you have to be. Doesn't matter what's happening. Like I've used this example before, but imagine I wake up tomorrow and YouTube crashed. No more YouTube. Bye-bye, YouTube. I'm immediately thinking in the future, looking back on this thing that happened as if it was part of the journey. It was a blessing in disguise. Spend your time in the future, no matter what you're going through. Spend your time in the future. And in the future, you're looking back on anything that you're going through and you understand exactly why it had to happen. It was a blessing in disguise and you have no regrets. Trust me. That's the way it works. And you know what? I've told the story a couple of times, but do you know when I really started doing this for the first time? It's when I was homeless. Some of you have heard me tell this story, but this one day when I was homeless, I had just got done eating a meal at the soup kitchen where they feed the homeless people. And that was about, a good 5-mile walk from the bridge that I lived under. So I was walking back. It was a big, long walk, and I'm just kind of hanging my head down, kicking rocks down the street, just existing. This is my life. Here I am in the dark. I have no direction. I'm just existing. And this car pulls up next to me. Pulls up. He rolls his window down. He says, "You're going to be so fucking successful. You're going to be cruising around in a limo with a chauffeur driving you around." I said, "What?" He rolled his window up and drove off. And I went, that was bizarre. And then this funny thing started happening to me in my mind. I was like, wouldn't that be a trip if he was right? Wouldn't that be crazy? And I started fantasizing. About me in the future, successful as fuck, telling that story. Me right now. I started fantasizing about what I'm doing right now, back then. And I started thinking about that. Like every single day, what if that dude was right? And I started thinking about and fantasizing about me being more successful than I could ever even dream. Back then, my idea of success was to be an operations manager at a company and make $1,000 a week. That was success to me back then, But what if I could be, more successful than I could ever dream? And I'm looking back on this, telling the story about how it was part of my journey. And at the time, I wasn't aware of what I was doing. I didn't know anything about quantum physics. I didn't know anything about manifestation. Didn't know nothing about nothing. You know, and then later on, I ended up finding out, oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. You know, it's almost like that was the other side. You know, one of my soulmates was like, man, I gotta trigger something in you real quick to get you on the right path, you know? Pretty cool. Pretty cool to look back on. But anyway, anywho, it's almost time for me to get out of here, y'all. Almost that time. Let me see something real quick. Oh, yep, it's almost that time. Okie dokie. Anyway, just wanted to get on here. Like I said, I know I've been laying kind of low for the past couple of days. I didn't do anything yesterday, and we'll see what today brings. But I just want to let y'all know I'm still alive and kicking. We just been feeling a little bit under the weather. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hop on out of here, y'all. I don't know. Like I said, right now, what I would like to do is start on some January bonuses. Don't hold me to it, because every time I say I'm going to do something, something comes up and prevents it from happening. But right now, in this now moment, that's what I would like to do, is do a couple of January bonuses in the weekly forecast. But anyway, I'm out of here, y'all. Appreciate you for tuning in and listening to me run my mouth. I'll see you later on my main channel. Y'all have a good day.